Welcome back to the lab. I'm Jen, and I'm so glad that you're back here with me today. So today we're going to talk about something that gets mixed reviews: networking. For some people, this is that topic that lights them up. I know my mom's includer is like, let's connect with everyone. Or my brother's wooful nature is known to be connected to everyone, everywhere. But for others, networking can feel uncomfortable or awkward. Walking into a room full of people you don't know, trying to figure out what to say, how to introduce yourself, how to have impactful or meaningful conversation, and how not just to stand by the snack table. It can be a lot. So here's what I want to offer for you today. Whether you are like my wooful includers out there where networking brings you joy and energy, or whether you're the individuals who just cringe at the thought of networking, I want us to think about, how do we flip the lens on this today? How do we network from a place of strength? And who knows, maybe when leaning into strength, it'll actually help you enhance how to step into any room, whether it's something that you already enjoy or not. So that's what we're going to explore today: how to network from a place of strength. We're going to do 3 things. 1, we're going to start with, let's figure out what is our networking style, and we're going to reflect on that through a strengths-based lens. 2, we're going to talk about, how do you craft that 60-second introduction that's actually rooted in who you are? And then 3, how do you leverage your strengths to go beyond the surface level, to expand impact and make networking a bit more fueling? As we dive in, remember, I keep the handouts for my episodes on my website, so you can find a quick reflection worksheet there at www.strengthstudio.com. Just navigate to the lab tab and it should be there for you. Okay, so with that, I think let's dive in and let's start here. Before we talk about, what do we tweak or what do we do differently, I want you to just pause and think about, what do you already do? Reflection can be so powerful because it shifts us and it helps us go inward and become a bit more aware. So what I want you to do is think about, how do you currently show up when you're networking? Are you the person who moves around the room quickly, meeting as many people as possible? Do you find yourself drawn into one really good conversation that goes deep? Do you get energized by learning something new from whoever you're talking to? Are you someone who likes to communicate more than you listen? Or maybe you listen more than you talk? Or maybe you're someone who tends to hang back, you observe, you wait for the right moment or the right person to make that connection. None of those approaches are right or wrong. All of those are examples of just data. They give you information about how you show up and your strength. So what I want you to do is think about it, think and reflect. And I'll give you an example about myself to help you understand how I reflect on my strengths in the space of networking. So I have relator in my top 5. I'm not necessarily wired for rapid fire small talk with 10 different people. I tend to prefer depth, and I gravitate towards those authentic, meaningful conversations and connections. And that's what helps it feel a little less, surface level to me. So I try not to think about, oh, how do I become better at small talk? I actually ask myself the question, how do I create the conditions for the kind of conversations and connections where I naturally thrive? And remember, my strengths: strategic, maximizer, relator, learner. I tend to lean deep. So here's how this looks through the lens of my strengths. I'm not the person that's trying to connect lots of connections or collect lots of business cards. I'm looking for one or two impactful conversations where we actually discuss something meaningful. I like to learn something new or share something new that maybe someone else didn't know. And I like to move beyond that general small talk. We could all look at our cell phones if we want to know what the weather or the headlines are today. For me, it's about meaningful conversation. And if it's not meaningful conversation or genuine connection, it can be depleting for me. So I deploy my strengths in a way that helps me change the game. I specifically tap into my learner to help me listen, to help me ask great questions, to help me find out what someone's working on, what energizes them, what's challenging for them. My genuine curiosity is what makes it more natural, and it makes it more comfortable for me to engage and for the people that I'm engaging. Because that's really the secret when you're networking. It becomes a whole lot better for everyone when it aligns to your strengths. So here's my first suggestion for you. Look at that worksheet and reflect on your top themes and ask yourself those questions I like to ask. Where do I feel fueled? Where do I feel drained in networking? What's that version of networking that actually plays to your strengths? And think about my examples, relator. I go deep with one or two people rather than trying to work the whole room. My learner, I ask lots of questions and it lights me up to discover something new or share something new. So reflect from your lens. Think about how you show up in those moments. Jot it down and be specific. Because once you can name it, that's when you can actually leverage it. So now let's keep going. Let's talk about, so then how do you introduce yourself? This is truly your opportunity. And often this is where people do not put enough thought. We just rattle off our name, our title, think about what people want to hear. But the introduction can help you set the entire conversation off to a meaningful start. It's interesting because that 60-second elevator pitch gets a lot of airtime when we think about career development or project pitches. And for good reason. First impressions do matter. But being able to articulate who you are and what you do clearly, how it's genuinely valuable, that is so critical when we're networking. So here's what I would say. Most people approach this from the outside in. They start job title, organization, maybe a line about their responsibilities. I want you to start from the inside out, from your strengths. And here's what I mean. Your strengths aren't just descriptors of personality. They're descriptors of how you show up, what you bring and contribute, the kind of value you create, where you impact the world. They're actually the perfect source material for a compelling introduction. So think about it this way. Let your introduction answer a few questions. Who you are, not just your role, but the natural role you play. What matters most to you? What is your core mission or the work that fuels you? And then 3, what do you contribute? What is the unique value and impact that you make? And your strengths can inform every single one of those questions. Think about it. If you're someone who has something like communication and woo, your introduction might lead with how you're energized by bringing people together and skilled at helping ideas land in ways that it connects. Or if you have strategic and futuristic, you might frame yourself as someone who's always thinking several moves ahead, helping teams and people see around those corners and look towards the future. And for some of you, maybe you're not even sure where to start. Then think broader than your themes. Remember, Gallup organizes all 34 themes into those 4 domains: executing, influencing, relationship building, strategic thinking. So even if you're not sure, how do I articulate this specific theme, or how do I articulate who I am, lean into those domains. Think about, are you someone who gets things done? Are you someone who has that natural ability to motivate and inspire people? Are you someone who builds trust and connection? Are you someone who helps teams think differently? Those things alone can anchor your introduction in a way that feels real and resonates. So from there, this is when you start tying it to, what do I actually do? What is my role, my work, my mission? And this is where you've got something that's not just a job description, but a genuine expression of who you are. So I would tell you, don't just let this sit on paper. Practice it. Say it out loud. It'll be a little awkward at first, but the more you say it, the more natural that it starts to get. And I can give you an example of this. For me, I might share as I'm walking into a room or introducing myself to folks, I might say, I'm a strengths-based talent strategist. In my work as founder and coach, I focus on amplifying individual and team strength so that it's a force multiplier for organizational excellence. I love to make strengths accessible and usable and highly strategic by teaching how to leverage it as a tool for individual and collective growth. Now, I'd love to hear about you. What brings you here today? So that's what I might say. And I give you my question at the end because I always want you to open the door for others. It's not just about us. It is about that collective impact. So spend some time, think about those questions, use the framework on the worksheet if it's helpful to you, and play with it. See what you can develop. Now I want us to go a step deeper. Here's the piece of networking that actually doesn't get talked about enough. It's that actual exchange. Networking isn't just about promoting yourself. It's about figuring out how you fit together with other people. And that means being clear not just on who you are, but what you bring and what you might need from others, as well as being able to articulate and offer those things to others based on what they might need. So here's a tip. If you have completed the Gallup's Best of Us activity, pull from that resource. Think about what you contribute, what you need from others, and you can think about, maybe I'm a great connector, or maybe I'm an amazing thought partner. Think about it from that lens of, what could I offer to someone else? So this is where I would encourage you again to leverage the 4 domains, because sometimes that translates more easily. So if you think across those domains and you're someone who's heavily weighted in the executing themes, the achiever, responsibility, discipline, you're probably likely fantastic at follow through, at getting things done, at holding yourself and others accountable. You might need a colleague who's strong in influencing to help champion work. Or maybe you need strategic thinkers to go bigger picture, right? Maybe your strengths are heavily concentrated in relationship building, the empathy, the includer, connectedness, developer. Maybe what you bring is you're the glue that holds a team together. You create safety. You notice who's on the margins. That's a profound contribution. So that's how I want you to think about it. Think about, what do I contribute? What do I bring? And think about it based on those things. What do I need? The person with strong executing themes may need to tap into exactly what you bring to strengthen their team and move things forward. So this is all about, how do I have self-awareness so that I can walk into a room and know, here's what I offer, here's what helps me thrive, here's what I need from others. And it opens the door so that then you can turn around and listen for those complementary partnerships. Know what you can offer. Even if someone hasn't done strengths, you can easily talk about contributions, needs, behaviors, and you can do all of that without ever uttering one bit of strengths language. It is the clarity in that moment that can change the quality of your conversations. You stop looking for someone to impress or subconsciously over focusing on yourself, and you start looking for collective impact. Who are these individuals? How can our strengths complement each other? And we can do that through genuine conversation. Because when you can offer your strengths and contributions to what someone else might need, what they're struggling with, what their challenges might be, it makes it easier for others to identify what they can offer as well. And that's where we truly change that conversation. So think about the questions on the worksheet. Ask others where they're strong, where they're fueled, energized in their work, what they might need to be at their best and thrive. Offer your strengths. And it is that shift that transforms networking from transactional to impactful. So here's our takeaways from today. Networking doesn't have to feel like performance. It can feel like an expression of who you are, what you bring, who you are genuinely trying to connect with. I want you to reflect on your style, let your strengths tell the story of who you are and how you're wired to connect. Build an introduction from the inside out, grounded in what you actually do, and know your contributions. Know what you need. And when you walk into that room or onto that Zoom call or into that conference, you're not just showing up. You're showing up with awareness, and you are showing up as the best version of you. And I give you a little space on that worksheet for a post-networking debrief. I encourage you, after your next networking event, do a post-event reflection and assess what worked, what didn't, where do I need to pivot or change in the future. And always, let me know what worked or didn't. Remember, this all comes from the lens of my strengths, right? So make it work for you. So thank you for listening and spending these few moments with me today. I look forward to connecting with you again, and I will see you next week in the lab.